Hi, says Sebastian. Hi, says Joanna. Yay. See,
Oh, okay. All
we're
right.
so close to getting this right.
Ah,
Hello.
okay. Now I've got an ad. All right. This is so exciting.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hollywood's biggest morning at noon. We are thrilled. Hello, Lewis. Hello, Sebastian. Hello, Aleva. Yep. Zachary. Hello, Christopher. Christine. Hi,
Otika,
friends.
A, Christine,
David, always saying hello lately. Good to see you. Pablo. Hi, friends.
Obashina,
Yo,
Emmett. Hi.
Shubagosh. Hi, friend. Good to see you. It's been a little while. How's everyone doing? Hi, TC. Good to see you. Hi, Tim. Hi, Mohammed. Uh, this conversation wouldn't be any fun without my golden athletic brewing company non-alcoholic beer. I thought I would do a golden for today.
Nice.
Seems appropriate.
Because it's for the, yes.
It is indeed. If you're doing dry January, we've got a good deal with Athletic Brewing Company. The code is breakfast all day in all caps. You get all kinds of goodies. They're all down below in the description. I like them a lot. So, what are you guys pumped about? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear from all of you. Alonzo, I know how much you don't think the Oscars matter, but your favorite movie of the year, Everything Everywhere All at Once, got the most nominations with 11. So, what say
Yes.
you?
Well, it was my number two, actually. My favorite movie of the year was RRR, which we had, there was a groundswell of hope for that one, and it wound up in
Yep.
the best song category, at least, which is a breakthrough in and of itself. But yes, a very good day for Everything Everywhere, which is exciting because I think if you had asked people in April, hey, is this the kind of movie the Academy is going to throw its arms around? I think a lot of people would have been like, what? No, are you crazy? It premiered at South by Southwest. What are you talking about? Also premiering at South by Southwest this year was To Leslie, which
Right.
scored probably the biggest shocker of the day, the Best Actress nomination for Andrea Riseborough.
Mhm.
Um, I did some reading up on that. Apparently, the director of that movie is married to actress Mary McCormick. And she really kind of like got on the phone and got like celebrity friends that she knew to like tweet about it and talk about it and see the movie. Howard Stern, whose wife she played in Private Parts,
Oh,
talked it up
right.
quite a bit on his show. And it worked. And I think when we talk about the Academy playbook, the strategy, the campaigns, um, which Harvey Weinstein was the king of for a while, and like people since then have figured out other ways to go about it. This is one I think historically people are going to look back at like, oh, well, this is one way to do it, to sort of like kind of rally actors around it.
Madonna
And
too, I feel like. Wasn't Madonna somebody
probably, yeah, she
who
directed Reesboro in WE, so
Yeah.
I'm sure she did come out for her, and it paid off. And I think there is so much about the Academy that is so kind of clubby and insider-ish. And Reesboro is a terrific actress. We've
Yeah,
said so for
always,
years, and
always.
she's the kind of, I think, an actor's actor in a lot of ways because she's so unshowy and disappears from role to role. So that paid off. I think what we're also seeing this year is that if you don't have a decided vocal Oscars so white campaign presence going on in social media and elsewhere, that they will ignore a lot of deserving black talent, including I think Daniel Deadweiler, who a lot of people assumed was going to be in the best actress category this year. Zero nominations for Till, zero
Shocking.
nominations for The Woman King. We do have Angela Bassett as supporting actress, who is the first performer to be nominated in the MCU. uh,
Really?
yeah,
That's shocking. You're very knowledgeable, by the
in
way.
the
For
acting
somebody who
category.
for somebody who hates the Oscars, you're very knowledgeable.
I did
But
some reading this morning.
good for you.
Other people know these things. I just crib.
We got to say hi to Chris Crawford real fast. Our good friend Chris Crawford, longtime baseball writer. We did his podcast.
Yes.
Thank you for your kind, generous offering here. He says, excited to hear my favorite sports podcasters talking Oscars today. Chris, you are very knowledgeable about movies as well. So it's been fun to contact and connect with you rather about that kind of thing. You
And
have a new
Oscars is where movies become sports.
That's true. There's betting. Chris has a new YouTube channel of his own about the Seattle Mariners. It's called My OY. If you want to go check him out as well. Yes, Stephen Atwood, beer. It is indeed beer. It's non-alcoholic beer. It's delicious. It tastes like real beer. Like
It's not
most,
just for breakfast.
I am having it all day long. So I need to go scroll back and say hi to folks. A bunch of you have said hi. Hi from Costa Rica, says Alan Rojas. Luis Flores, hola from Mexico. Hola to you out there. Hello, Don Draper. Thanks for saying we look great. Bonjour, says Stephen. Hello, Miami, Anthony Diaz. Yes, Joey Mangini points out Ana de Armas got in for Blonde.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Divorced from everything else that other issues you might have with that movie, that is a hell of a performance. And the Academy certainly loves, it's a combo of things they love, people playing famous people and people rendering themselves nearly
Yeah.
unrecognizable. And so I'd say, like, she swings both of those, and so
She's great
that's
in it,
what
in a
good.
movie that's very
And she is,
polarizing.
yeah.
She's legitimately great.
I think that, yeah, you can't, if you have problems with that movie, and a lot of us do, you can't blame them on her. Big day, obviously, for AAPI representation in the Academy. Michelle Yeoh, the first Asian Best Actress nomination.
Wow, that's
I
stunning.
know,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so Michelle Yeoh, so Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Sue got in
Yes,
for Everything Everywhere, and of
and
course
Ki
Ke
Hui
Huy
Kwan.
Kwan, right? So that is, I think, those are categories, those are nominations that boosted that to 11, which I think is more than folks thought. Like it's
Yeah,
got the most with 11. I think people figured, okay, yes, Jamie Lee Curtis, but maybe not both. And yeah,
sure,
both.
yeah,
Really caught now. Thank you very much for your lovely donation. Says surprised and happy for Brian Tyree Henry.
yeah.
I am too. I am too. I don't know why I didn't think it was going to happen. He got Spirit Award and Gotham Award nominations and has gotten a lot of love from
He was a
critics
runner-up
groups.
at LAFCA and National Society.
I think I just sort of felt like it's such a small movie and such a gentle performance that I didn't think he'd make it in for supporting, and I'm thrilled that he did.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a film where it seemed like it was just gonna kind of fall by the wayside entirely, and had more heat going. If, like, Jennifer Lawrence been more talked about over the award season, that would have maybe carried him on, but, it was the one nomination for that film, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's it for
much
Causeway.
much like, we have the one nomination for After Sun, which I did not see coming at all.
I'm thrilled about that one. Yeah, Paul Mescal and After Sun. And you could argue that he took Adam Sandler's spot because they
True, in the
aligned
SAG
with the
Awards.
SAG Awards. Adam Sandler got a SAG Award nomination for Hustle. Paul Mescal takes that spot here at the Oscars. I would have loved to have seen After Sun get an editing nomination. That's
Sure.
it won that from our LA Film Critics group, and that's so much of what makes that movie work is like the elusive nature of the editing. It's
Yeah.
hypnotic, and so I kind of wish I'd have gotten in for there, but
Yeah, Charlotte Wells was National Society Best Director, but no women
yeah,
director nominations this year. But I
no.
was I was very happy to see Women Talking make it into Best Picture.
Yes, Marty
Uh,
Mascaron points out, greetings from Canada. Hooray for Sarah Polly.
Woo!
Yeah, so we got picture and she got a screenplay nomination as
Yes.
well. She posted a funny thing on Twitter of herself with like glasses on and a mask, and she's just at a routine doctor's appointment today. She's like, I scheduled today all wrong. But that's why she's cool as shit. She's so down to earth. She's just seems like a really
Absolutely.
normal chick. I appreciate that. Yeah, a lot of
Uh,
love for Andrea Riseborough here in the
yeah,
comments as well. And also, yeah, Danielle Deadweiler should have gotten nominated for sure. That is shocking to me.
yeah.
That I guess you could argue that Andrea Riseborough got that spot that maybe she might have gotten.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. And, like, when people talk about, oh, snubbing, you have to remember this is all of these disparate people voting on their own, and being, influenced by whatever it is they're influenced by. It's not like they all sit in a room like, let's fuck over this person. But yeah, I think that, given what the Andrea Riseborough sort of grassroots, if you will, campaign, the next time somebody like Daniel Deadweiler, who is not super well known yet, but, like, gives us really amazing performance, I think you're going to see, like, Denzel Washington and Spike Lee and people like that really kind of like, hey, y'all, we need to support, we got to vote, in the way that the backers of Andrea Riseborough did.
Henry Harrison points out that 16 out of the 20 acting nominees
Yep.
are first timers, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have like Brad Pitt.
Or Tom Cruise or Tom
Or
Hanks.
Tom Cruise didn't get in. Tom
Yeah.
Hanks didn't get in.
All
Margot
all
Robbie didn't get in.
all five of the best actors are first timers this year. Yeah, we kind of saw, we knew the Top Gun Maverick Best Picture nomination was coming. I can't believe that they nominated it for Best Adapted Screenplay.
Well, it's based on Top Gun.
No, no,
I
no.
am.
But I mean, I can't believe they nominated it for any screenplay. Like, come on. And they didn't nominate it for cinematography, which I think
Yep.
it absolutely would have deserved.
Yeah, Emmett just pointed that very thing out. Top Gun Maverick not getting a nomination for cinematography is an absolute tragedy. The movie literally invented new camera and way to shoot film and flying scenes, and you feel like you are truly in the plane with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
It won the New York Film Critics Award for cinematography, so that definitely belongs there. But then the movies that did get in for cinematography, I mean, my boy Roger Deakins, of
Of
course,
course.
the only nomination for
Empire of
Empire of
Light.
Light. Yeah, I mean, all right, so All Quiet on the Western Front, which we are going to catch up with next
Clearly,
week.
we must.
Clearly,
Yes.
we have to. Like we were just saying this yesterday. Like, should we review All Quiet on the Western Front? I'm like, yes, yes,
Yeah.
we should. So, All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo's only nomination is for
Hmm.
cinematography. Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I do think Top Gun belongs in there, maybe over something like Tar. Tar's got a
But
lot going for it, but that's not maybe one of the best things about it.
yeah, and again, this is ultimately why I say the Academy Awards don't mean anything because I retweeted this is a tweet from 2012 from Edgar Wright, but it holds up every year where he says my response to the Academy Award nominations, yay, boo, and so you're always going to have like ones you're excited about and then things you how did that get in and how did this not get in, and so ultimately history is the judge of what of these movies matter and what achievements are great. Dave was saying this morning, he goes, I think it's the honorary Oscar really that lands because that's where people sort of soberly look back at your entire body of work as opposed to getting caught up in this moment of the campaign. I'm sure a lot of people who voted for Roberto Benigni for best actor maybe have buyer's regret about that now, but like if you're Frederick Wiseman or Agnes Varda getting this governor's award at the end of your career, you're like, yeah, fucking A, I earned this. And so those are the awards to me that carry the most weight. And of course, we don't show them on the telecast anymore. But I think they're the most sort of genuine reflection of somebody who has, you know, who's merited the this kind of attention. Diane Warren is up again for a movie
She
that
is.
nobody saw.
What is
Uh,
that song? What I mean, really, what is that
what is that
song?
movie? I mean, like I looked because I searched. I think who even released this movie? And it was Samuel Goldwyn, and I suspect is that one of those companies like you pay them and they do it for you? But
No,
I
Samuel Goldwyn's a real company.
yeah
They
and
have a
no, they have
screening room on Pico.
okay, they have a history, but they haven't released anything in the last 5 years that anybody's been particularly excited about. And I went through my old emails to see did I ever get invited to a
Mm-mm.
screening of this film? No. Like it got some kind of like tiny awards run just to get this Diane Warren song into contention, but this movie barely exists in the world. I mean, like at least you can rent to Leslie,
Yeah.
if you missed it in theaters, and a lot of these other ones are still playing, but like that one was like this is all an elaborate scheme to elevate this one Diane Warren song. It's like what her 15th nomination or something.
She is Roger Deakins, right? In her respective category. Otika Lambada points out something that I want to get to, which is why did Decision to Leave not get the love? That is really one of the things I'm very bummed about.
Yeah.
And there was a campaign, and I can attest to this because I moderated multiple Q&As with Park Chan-wook, and so they're and in front of Academy voters, and I don't know why it got nothing at all. Like I thought it would get into the international category. I'm thrilled for EO.
Yes.
We got to hang out with the folks from EO, Yersha Skolomovsky and Eva Piskowska, who are awesome and cool, and EO is gorgeous, and I'm thrilled that it's in there. But I really wanted Decision to Leave to be in there as well.
I mean, I'll tell you, I think companies like Neon make it look easy. Like the what they did with Parasite now seems like, oh well, of course, Parasite. We all love that movie. But like that was a big hill to climb in terms of like
Bold.
getting that level of Academy notice and consideration. And so maybe, I don't know. That's the thing. The other thing that I hate about the Oscars is at the final tally, it's less about artistic merit in so many ways, but more about like what was the campaign like? Who did they screen it
Hmm.
for? Who did they hire to like make sure that it got seen at the motion picture home or the in Aspen or whatever the hell. And so
At
you know
Davos.
yes, I mean, because like RRR, they did a campaign. They were really
Mm-hmm.
pushing it. Like SS
Mm-hmm.
Rajamouli was in town, going to places
Mm-hmm.
and pressing the flesh, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And sadly, I think the fact that there's this whole Bollywood Tollywood thing going on in India, where India didn't make it their nomination,
So
it was an
weird.
uphill battle. And we have seen films overcome that. I mean, like there were years where Spain didn't pick whatever the Almodovar movie was, but they managed to get nominations in other categories. But for RRR, but beyond song, they weren't able to get it across the finish line.
Very happy for Natu Natu, and I can
Yes,
imagine that it will win. It will beat Rihanna. It will beat Lady Gaga. It will beat Diane Warren.
it did at the
I can very
Globes,
easily.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Teddy KGB says, "Who got snubbed at the Razzies?" Ah, the Razzies, like so mean. They nominated
A
Ryan
child.
Kira Armstrong for Firestarter. She's 12. Like it's not her fault that the Firestarter remake was bad.
Yeah, yeah. The Razzies were a fun idea for about 5 minutes, but they always go after the low hanging fruit, and they nominate the same movies for a million things when you could really spread the wealth on that one, if you wanted to. So yeah, I haven't paid attention to the Razzies in a long time. Is Ana de Armas up for both this year?
For what?
Is she up for a Razzie and an Oscar? Because
Oh, maybe. That's a
I
good
know
question.
Blonde got some.
Oh, yeah. You guys look that up for us and tell us.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe, but I remember like, didn't Halle Berry show up to get her Razzie for Catwoman?
Yes, and brought her Oscar with her from Monsters Ball.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so am I reading this correctly? Ball Bag Saggins. Is that you really? Okay, with the Best Director award, are the Daniels nominated separately? Could only one of them win? No, they would both win.
No.
Like the Coens have
Yeah.
both won, right? For No Country for Old Men.
Robert Wise and Jerome Robbins are listed as co-directors of the original West Side Story. So yeah, it's not unprecedented to have two directors, and so they're one line. They each would, if they win, they would each get a statuette.
Ana de Armas is not nominated for a Razzie.
Ah, okay.
Blonde got a bunch of Razzie nominations, but she did not. Okay, good to know. Thank you. Okay, so other things that I wrote down. Okay, so yeah, so All Quiet on the Western Front and Banshees of Inisherin both got 9 nominations. I don't know. Do we have a front runner at this point? Like, would you say it's Everything Everywhere just by sheer like numbers and the juggernaut of it all?
I mean, it's hard to say because again, Dave was quoting me. There's an Alyssa Wilkinson piece from like 2019, but I think it still very much applies. Where the thing about campaigns, it's partially like getting the movie out there and getting it seen, all that stuff, but you also have to sort of craft this narrative of like, does this movie deserve to win? And so I think Everything Everywhere, there is that weirdness to it that maybe makes it tricky to sell, but at the same time, it is ultimately a film that leaves audiences feeling uplifted, that leaves them feeling, like moved emotionally. It's not just razzle dazzle. So I hope that they're able to like take that all the way. But I mean, we've certainly seen where the Academy, when faced with the option of something that's sort of like recognizably traditional cinematically speaking and something that's a little more out there, they'll do the safe route. So like All Quiet on the Western Front has this sort of like epic old school kind of, I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but I mean, my understanding is it is a big epic war picture, that is an anti-war picture, and people can feel like, oh, I've done something for pacifism by voting for this movie. Banshee's probably way too weird to actually win Best Picture, but
you think Banshees is too weird to win, but Everything Everywhere is not?
Everything
Everywhere is a weird fucking
everything
movie, man.
everything everywhere is weird, but it's weird in the support of this woman's journey and this family's, coming to understand each other, which are things that you can grab onto. I mean, Banshees of Inisherin, people are like, is this a movie about, is this a metaphor for Ireland? Is it about toxic masculinity? Is it about cancel culture? What's it? I think there's a lot of things spinning around of it, and it is, you have a lead character who snips off all 10 fingers. I think for a lot of Academy voters, it's like, I respect it, but I don't love it. Oh, come on.
Spoilers. You either have hot dog fingers or no fingers.
There you go. That's the choice this year.
Yes. I was thrilled to see Fire of Love get in for
I
Best
knew you would be.
Documentary.
Yes.
So happy about that one. But Moon Age Daydream did not get in, which is very surprising because also Brett Morgan was out there pounding the pavement, doing like 3 Q&As a night sometimes.
Yeah. But that one's the doc category is weird. I mean, the doc category, again, Frederick Wiseman never nominated. They did finally give him a governor's award for a life achievement, but like his stuff does not follow the beats of doc filmmaking the way that it is currently practiced. And Moon Age
Mhm.
Daydream is kind of an experimental film in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. So I'm not totally shocked.
It is very strange. Atheist Nihilist points out that Avatar: The Way of Water saved the box office and yet got few noms. Yes, it only got four. It
Mm,
got Best Picture.
yeah.
Didn't get your James Cameron though.
No.
It got picture, production design, sound, and visual effects.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I'm surprised it didn't like wallop. I thought it would have been kind of Mad Max Fury Road and like really hitting the tech categories hard, but
yeah, and then the Batman. I thought the Batman would do better actually in technical categories. So it got makeup and sound and visual effects, but like I love that score. I know that someone pointed out to me on Twitter that the score wasn't even shortlisted, that Michael Giacchino score.
mm,
But like cinematography, I think that belongs in there. That Greg Fraser cinematography is
sure.
stunningly, like shockingly beautiful. Yeah. Oh yeah, Judd Hirsch got nominated for a single scene. Yes,
Yep,
that
yep.
is that
That's
is true.
those happen every so often.
That's
I
like
was kind
Judy Dench and Shakespeare in
exactly,
Love,
and
right?
Beatrice Straight in Network. I was kind of hoping for some recognition of the visual effects of Everything Everywhere because they were done so relatively cheaply
Yeah.
compared to most movies. They had a very small crew doing that stuff, and they went for the biggies. You know.
I thought, yeah, Everything Everywhere did not get makeup and hair and did not get production design. Those are two that I thought would be like
Yeah.
gimmies for them.
Did it get costume?
I don't think
Oh, come
so. Let me
on. The Jobu
hold on.
Pataki outfits
Hold on,
alone.
hold
It
on,
did
hold
get
on.
costume.
Okay, yeah, costume is Babylon, which is Mary
Mhm.
Zophres,
Yeah.
Black Panther, Elvis, Everything Everywhere, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I mean, like Jenny Bevan has to get nominated, of course,
Of
because it's a
course.
movie about clothing.
Yes. How could you not?
That is okay. So James Cameron got nominated as a producer. Points out Jerry the Vampire. Yes, that
True.
is true. He did not get his directing one though. What else? Ruben Östlund got in the directing category
Oh, yeah.
though.
Let's talk about Triangle of Sadness
Let's
because
do.
that's a movie that, again, Neon manages to pull it out. Would not have, I did not expect it to really like kill in the big categories, but I did expect Dolly DeLeon to get a Best Supporting Actress
Hmm.
nomination, and then neither of those things happened.
I thought Deli Deli would get in also. She was our supporting actress or one of our supporting performance
Performers,
winners
yes.
at LA Film Critics. Yeah, Triangle of Sadness got picture, director,
Screenplay.
screenplay, which is very surprising to me. I think of all of those Eat the Rich movies that came out in the past
Hmm.
year, that seemed like the smallest and the weirdest, but it won at what? Did it win at
It won the Palme
Cannes?
d'Or, yeah.
Okay.
But still, I was just imagining like I, I was imagining so many sort of Academy walkouts on that one. Just there's so much puke and shit in that film. Like I really didn't think they were going to stick around for that, but I guess they did.
There's a lot of bodily fluids
Yeah,
in that movie. Yeah, and then Glass Onion, which is sort of in that same kind of vein,
true.
only got screenplay
Yeah, adapted screenplay.
for
Nothing for
Ryan
the
Johnson.
menu.
Nothing for the menu. But I want to talk about like I thought the Glass Onion might get in for
Production design.
production design. Yes, because that house, yes,
Yes,
it's so cool looking, but like what it is and everything in it is so important to the storytelling.
absolutely. Yeah,
It's you know,
I thought so too.
I thought for sure. Yes, a lot of love for Dolly DeLeon in the comments here. Um, David says, I'm rather happy that Tar got nominated for more than just Kate and Todd Field. Yeah, Tar got a lot. It got screenplay, cinematography, a bunch of things. Let's look.
Yeah.
Let me.
Although there was some, I think people thought like Nina Haas might get in there, but
Right.
uh,
It got directing. It got
picture.
I looked up Tar, so of course it's giving me also Avatar. Sorry. Yeah, screenplay. It got a lot. Yeah. So a lot of the movies that were at least on my top 10 list were big nominees today. Tar, Banshees,
Yeah, women talking for me,
Theo.
everything everywhere.
Yeah, I'm thrilled about that. Yeah, for sure. Batman got noms, but not the Northman. Yeah, let's talk about that. I think maybe it's a recency bias.
That, and I don't think that Focus really pushed Northman after it kind of didn't make a lot of money. Like I don't think they invested the effort into trying to get people into it, which is a shame. I like that movie a lot, and I think a lot of the craft is really exquisite. But I think it's just one of those cases where if a movie doesn't perform, the distributor's like, well, we could spend that money elsewhere, you know.
Yeah. Nuclear Phil points out Babylon's score got nominated. Yes, score,
Oh,
production design, costume.
that excessive
I
score.
am not a fan of the Babylon score. I find it
No.
incessant and irritating. And there are other movies whose scores I really enjoyed more, like the Batman, like Women Talking.
Yeah.
Had a great score.
I would have liked to have seen a best song nomination for LCD Sound System's New Body Rumba
Yes. Yeah.
from White Noise, but that movie got completely shined on. There was Hong Chow for The Whale, but not for The Menu.
I like her in both. I like her better in the Menu.
I like her better in The Menu, but then I mean I don't care for either movie that much, but I think I like her better in The Menu. But The Whale obviously had a lot of oomph behind it, so I'm not surprised.
How do we feel at this point about the best actor race? Because for a long time it looked like Brendan Fraser was your front runner, but now
Sure.
I'm not so sure. Now I think it's Colin Farrell. What do you guys think?
I Yeah, I think Colin Farrell actually has racked up a lot of goodwill, I think. And I think certainly in the acting, here's the thing. I think both of those guys have appeal within the acting category because Brendan Fraser is somebody who had a moment where he was hot and in things and then kind of went away for a while and dealt with some personal shit, and this is kind of a big comeback for him moment, and he's taking on this really challenging role and acquits himself in it. Colin Farrell is somebody who they really tried to sell us as a movie star in dumb movies. And he finally was like, no, I'm not doing any more SWATs. I'm gonna go fucking work. I'm gonna go make Neil Jordan's mermaid movie. I'm gonna go do these little, I'm gonna go with this
The
Irish playwright.
Lobster.
Yeah, I'm gonna go make a couple Yorgos Lanthimos movies,
Mhm.
So I think people admire that arc of somebody who got sort of wrapped up in the star machine and then was like, no, I'd rather actually act.
Because
And
he has the looks of a leading man, like a traditional
exactly,
leading man, but he
but he's
does
a
weird
character
stuff.
actor.
Yeah, I loved him in After Yang this year too. Yes, Christine Dugas points out, sad that Apollo 10 and a half didn't get animated
Yes.
feature. Let's talk about that for a second, because that was kind of a bit of a little kerfuffle there. Is it qualified? Is it not?
Right. Yeah. And after that, even when they said, okay, fine, it qualifies, I'm like, well, they're not gonna. Because I know probably a lot of old school animators who scoff at rotoscoping, even though it pops up everywhere, and there are different ways you can do it. And even if you compare Apollo 10 and a half to the earlier animated Linklater movies, he's doing something different here with that raw material and creating a different visual world than he is in the films that he did before. But I had a hunch that was going to pretty much kill it. I'm thrilled that Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio got in
Yep.
there. One of your favorites, Marcel the Shell.
Yes.
Turning Red, I was worried they might ignore because it went straight to Disney Plus, but I'm glad that
Mm.
got in.
Yeah, for sure. It's so good. And Marcel the Shell is one that seems unusual for the Academy as well in terms of like what it considers
Yeah, it's a
animation, but
hybrid.
it is stop motion. Yeah. Jake Tremblay, who was one of our a la carte interviews, was the art director on Marcel the Shell with shoes on. So he
Oh,
was thrilled today about that. Our friend Igor Setkowitz in Poland, hello Igor, so pumped about EO, hello, says, I was
yes.
really surprised that apparently this is the first nomination for Jamie Lee Curtis. That is
Yeah.
surprising.
Yeah.
How is it possible after like decades of work?
Well, I mean, I think she hasn't taken on a lot of these sort of Lady Macbeth kind of roles. She's done a lot of comedies. She's done a lot of horror. And not to say she's not great at it. It's just the Academy has this sort of window of what they deem important enough for that sort of thing.
Yes, our friend Todd Lamp says nominations for Austin Butler and Ana de Armas are for two of the most enduring Hollywood icons slash legends who died at young ages. Yeah, I
True.
mean, and we've seen so many portrayals of them both, but
Yeah.
there was something more electrifying about both of these performances. Like
Yeah.
these are ones that took risks. These were not like made for TV, like safe
Sure.
versions of these figures that we think we know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and certainly I think Elvis and Marilyn have both kind of become like, freshman wall poster people, where like their complicated lives and iconography have been sort of flattened into this kind of mass market iconography. But I think, these movies really dug into the sort of human, complicated, messy edges of it. I don't think De Armas has a shot here because I think the movie is so unloved and
Sure.
and she's the only nomination for it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, like, I don't see that happening, but the nomination itself, I think, is a real vindication for, you know, she really puts herself out on the line in so many ways, and it pays off, and, the fact that, like, when Colin Farrell at the Globes, when, she presented him, he, like, spent the first minute or 2 of his speech talking about how great she was and blonde. It was like, "Okay, there's there's clearly a lot of people within the industry who acknowledge that that's a really great role." Sorry, I'm trying not to get sick, but who knows?
Would you like some water?
I'm having some.
Should you get some water? Should Dave bring you tea?
I'll be fine. Let's carry on.
Yes. Socked says Colin Farrell has had a lot of good performances lately, and Andrea Gilly says I think they will give it to Brendan Fraser instead of Colin Farrell, even though he totally deserves it. And Jeffrey Miller points out that he was really good as a penguin too. He was and unrecognizable as a
And
penguin.
13 Lives this year. Like this was and after Yang, a big year for Colin
Love
Farrell,
After
actually.
Yang. Yes. Uh, Decision to Leave got snubbed. Yeah, that was, I don't like that word, but I agree with you. I'm bummed about that. Nuclear Phil says, I thought Till would show up for sure. Danielle Deadweiler,
Yeah.
maybe production design, maybe screenplay. It's hard. Yeah. Oh, Atheist Nihilist says The Sea Beast is a surprising nomination that came out of nowhere. I am not a fan of that movie.
I I never saw it because you weren't crazy about it. Carlos reviewed it for the rap and he was kind of on it. So I was very surprised to see that get in there.
I found it pretty, but very simplistic, like
Well,
cloying. Like I
I
was
guess
watching it with Nick, and he's like, "This is for very little kids."
Netflix knows what they're doing. I Of the shorts, I'm very excited. I've been meaning to watch it anyway, but La Poupelle, I really want to see because it's directed by Alice Rohrwacher, who did that film Happy as Lazaro a couple of years ago that was on my top 10 list, and I think Alfonso Cuarón produced it. It's currently on Disney Plus.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I have not seen. I don't think I've seen any of the shorts, any of the animated or live action or documentary ones. Several theaters across the country will always do a thing where they'll show all 15 of the shorts. I know that the Grail Movie House in Asheville, North Carolina, who was one of our movie house shout out theaters, they're doing that. So if
Yeah,
that's happening near you, check it out.
there's a distributor who puts that together as a package and sends it out.
Yes. Walk Wizard Phoenix says, "Oh, it just scrolled up. I hate when that happens. That many of the early Disney animated films were rotoscoped."
That's true. Yeah, it
Okay.
was. It was. Not a not uncommon procedure. Ralph Bakshi used it a lot.
Oh, interesting. Hayden Claiborne says, "Surprised Nope was completely shut out. Not even special effects." Let's talk about that for a sec.
True. Yeah, yeah. I think that was a surprise for people. I think there was talk about Kiki Palmer. Screenplay. Obviously, Peel has won in that category before.
Visual
I,
effects.
Visual effects. Yeah. Again, and I really wonder if it's the kind of thing where, you know, that seriously, I think for a lot of black artists in the industry are going to be like, do we have to like really be vocal and talk about Oscars very white history every year to get noticed? Because apart from Angela Bassett, I mean,
Yeah.
like you're really seeing like a lot of stuff that did not. I mean, Woman King zero.
Shocking.
I think that's one where you definitely could get into things like editing and cinematography and production design, costume. It
Lashana
covers
Lynch, people. Come
Lashana.
on.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Let alone Viola Davis.
Right.
So you know, oh, I do want to point out it's interesting that Michelle Williams did sort of
Mm.
defy expectations and get into Best Actress because after not getting a Golden Globe nomination, and I can't remember if she got SAG or not, but there was definitely discussion about,
She did not.
she should have gone for supporting, and that would have been better, and but no, she stuck to her guns, and it did work out ultimately.
Are movies with googly eyes and movies with significant roles for donkeys new Hollywood trends, says Christine Dugas. Yeah, so we have googly eyes in Marcel the Shell and Everything
True.
Everywhere. We got donkeys in EO and
And Banshees.
banshees.
And there was a French film called My Donkey, My Lover, and I this year, too.
Oh, TC says give Alonso some athletic brewing company. Alonso, I don't think you like beer, if I recall correctly.
It's I'll just say I never drank it for the taste.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not my thing, but I'm glad that you're enjoying it, and I'm thrilled that they are coming on as sponsors of the program. And if I were a beer person, yeah, I'm not much of a drinker anymore, so non-alcoholic would be the way I'd
Yes,
go.
they are quite tasty. Mike Webb points out, given that Blonde has a nomination, when was the last time an NC-17 rated movie got an Oscar nomination? That's a really good question. Do you know?
Oh, I don't. Somebody in the comments mentioned Requiem for a Dream, but I don't. Did that go out as NC-17 or R? I don't remember.
I think the one as R.
Yeah, I mean, because yeah, NC-17 had such a sort of brief moment of being a serious thing. I think after Showgirls, it kind of stopped. Like people, it didn't become the thing that it was supposed to be, which is like a way for real movies to not have to, edit themselves down to be an R-rated thing. But I don't know. I'm sure somebody out there can tell you.
Looney 1023 points out the lack of apartment for sale for Tar for best original song. It's blasphemy. Apartment for sale. Oh my God, that was amazing. Yeah, that was good. Thank you very much for your kind donation. Yes.
Yes, we
Oh,
appreciate it.
Blue Valentine, a bunch of folks are pointing out.
Oh, right. There you
An
go.
atheist nihilist says Requiem for a Dream was NC-17. I mean,
Oh,
like for the ass to ass scene alone, I would
I
think
suppose.
so.
Yeah.
There's that. Henry and June, says Teddy. Were
I don't know
they
that Henry and June got
nominated?
nominated for anything. Sadly, I love that movie.
Blue Valentine, did that get
I
screenplay?
thought like didn't Michelle Williams and
Michelle
or Ryan
Williams is one of her
Gosling get
many.
nominated? I forget.
Anyway, Last Tango in Paris, Bad
Right. Well,
Lieutenant, was
that's
that?
that's
Anyway.
the Last Tango and Midnight Cowboy were X, which is predates
Oh.
NC-17 didn't exist until 1990.
Oh, Dogtooth. Was Dogtooth NC-17?
I don't know if Dogtooth was rated. It might have just been released
Yeah,
without a
that's true.
rating.
And that was up for foreign
Screenplay.
language, I want to say. Yeah, Teddy says, "Yep, I was right. Henry and June was the first NC-17 movie to get nominated."
Oh,
I think you
for
mean cinematography. You said choreography.
oh
Maybe you
nice.
mean
Okay.
cinematography.
Oh good. I do love
Kyle
that movie.
points out that Infinity Pool is NC-17, which comes out this Friday. Alonzo, you have seen it. I have not seen it yet, but we're gonna have a review of Infinity Pool on
On Friday.
Friday.
Yes.
Did that seem very NC-17 to you?
I could see where, yeah.
Yes, Blue Valentine got a nomination from Michelle Williams, points out atheist nihilist. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you very much. Josh says, I think Farrell is the dark horse for best actor, and for him, it's between Brendan Fraser and Austin Butler. I
Huh.
almost feel like Austin Butler has been forgotten at this point. Like the whole season is so long, right? So
Yes.
things that seem like the hot thing when they first come out of a film festival or they first open, like as time goes on, like I think whatever we're saying at this very moment in time on January 24th will not
Right.
be the case come March 12th.
I think Austin Butler would have a better shot if more Academy voters knew anything he'd done before Elvis. So it's like, oh,
Mm,
the guy that we know from this movie, this amazing transformation. Like, because I think he's sort of tabula rasa for people who didn't watch like the Disney Channel. I think that's maybe a little that makes it less of a thing for them in terms of calculating what that performance means in the overall context of his work. Don't count out Bill Nye. People,
right.
we haven't. We're gonna go circle back and review that one because we haven't seen it either.
We are.
But people love him. They love that movie. So he could Anthony Hopkins this thing. Like from a couple years ago. So you
Has
never
he
know.
not ever been nominated?
First
I guess
nomination.
not. And
Yeah,
that's an amazing body of work. That's a really good point that you bring up. That like, could this be like a sentimental, like it's long overdue win for Bill Nye? That's a good
totally. It
question.
it absolutely could. And Kazuo Ishiguro is up for supporting. Adapted screenplay
Screenplay.
because Living is a remake of the Kurosawa film Akiru, which I just learned is itself based on a Tolstoy story. So it's an
There you
adaptation.
go.
It's an adaptation.
Has rich roots. Yes. Walk points out that Showgirls was NC-17 and should have been nominated. I
Indeed.
agree. In retrospect, it got Razzie
Yes.
nominations, and
Gina Gershon, if nothing else. Come on.
for sure. Michelle Williams should have gotten a nod. Shouldn't have gotten a nod. Says bruh haha. He would
It's a
he or
divisive
she,
performance.
yeah, would prefer Viola Davis or Danielle Deadweiler. I would have as
Sure.
well.
Yeah.
It is not my favorite Michelle Williams performance, but I wonder if there's just some sentimentality attached to our perspective on it because it's Spielberg's mom. You
Maybe.
know,
I mean, I think she is generally well liked in the industry, and so she's kind of stealthily one of those actresses who is going to just like rack up all these nominations, and one day she's going to win, and we're like, wait, this is her 10th nomination. Like it's. But she's terrific. I hear she's really good in the new Kelly Reichardt movie, which is opening in the next few months. I think
right?
it
And they have a
premiered last
great
year at
long
festivals.
time working relationship, the
Yeah,
two of them. Yeah, I mean, I guess in general, I'm pretty happy with these nominations, right? When you look at that Best Picture category, it's kind of a fascinating cross section of. Let me look it up real fast while I'm talking to you guys.
weird and safe.
Weird, yeah, weird and safe. Like, hold on, yeah, All Quiet on the Western Front is it weird? It's safe in that it's a known commodity, but it's
Yeah,
like a foreign language film. It's also a
sure.
foreign language. Avatar is safe. Banshees is weird. Elvis is weird. Everything Everywhere is weird. Fablemans is totally safe.
Yeah,
Tar, I think, is safe, although Tar is daring. Top Gun
it's
is
weird
safer,
adjacent.
safer than safe. Triangle
Yeah,
of Sadness is really safe.
weird.
I mean, really weird. I mean, and then Women Talking. I don't know what I would call
Yeah,
that.
it's hard to know what category goes in because I think on the one hand, it's like you could point to the fact that it's this really powerful ensemble piece and that it's issue driven, but at the same time, it is women talking.
Literally.
So yeah, you could look at it either way. I think that's probably I haven't seen the Vegas odds yet on this. I imagine women talking is probably the longest shot of the 10, but if it gets butts into seats to see the thing, then yay.
Right, that or Triangle of Sadness are probably your long
Yeah.
shots. Paula Burr, hello, thank you so much. Says Elvis and Butler were amazing. Best movie I've seen in years. Baz Luhrmann got snubbed. Well, that's the thing when you have 10 spots for Best Picture and only five for,
Five,
for
right.
director, they're not going to line up. I
Uh,
do think that Ruben Östlund's inclusion there is a big surprise though, and that might have gone to James Cameron or
yeah,
Baz
yeah.
Luhrmann.
I mean, it's. I think Lorman is this interesting case where people obviously like his films a lot, and they like the glorious excess of them. But I think maybe him as the director, as the guy who's actually m- doing all this and managing that traffic, they're like, "Oh, honey, calm down." So it's a weird kind of conflict there.
Yes, Bob's Burgers was snubbed as well. Steven, do you mean that in animated or do you mean that in original song? Both, either.
What
We
was the
sing these
song?
songs around. There's a couple of songs.
Oh, you're right. There were. I
It's
forgot
a
about that.
musical. It begins. They always break into song in Bob's
True, true, true.
Burgers, huh?
Also, by the way, musical snub. Spirited did not get a nomination for Good
Good
Afternoon.
afternoon.
They were really
They
gunning for.
campaigned. They
They did.
campaigned for that. They really did for
I
sure.
think if they had a choreography category, it might have made a presence there because that was really impressive. But I think it's hard to I think people look at Christmas movies in their own kind of weird category and they don't think about them as films to take
Real.
seriously all year long. I mean, like that's why Bill Nye did not get a nomination for Love Actually,
Yeah.
which Lafka gave him the supporting that year for that one.
Yes, but it's beloved,
Yeah.
eternally, and so he's got that going for him. Teddy,
Exactly. And not winning an Oscar has not damaged that movie one bit.
yeah, Teddy says I think the bad reviews for The Whale hurt Brendan Fraser. I don't know. I feel like most people like it. Like you and I didn't, but I think for the most critics like it. Do they
I
not?
think I think even people who don't like the film, it's like Ana de Armas. They don't blame
Right.
him.
They like his
They're like
performance.
he is giving it his all. He understood what he was meant to do. If this movie works at all, it's because of him. So I think it might have hurt him in terms of the fact that if people had loved the movie more, it'd be up for Best Picture, it'd be up for director and other categories, and that would maybe sort of elevate his chances. But I mean, like of the five actors, I mean, I guess Farrell is in the movie with the most nominations, right? So that's a vote in his favor, but it's not to say that Fraser couldn't, for all the other sort of sentimental reasons and just for people in awe of that performance, couldn't still win it.
Cat Ex Machina says, cheers to Catherine Martin's 3 nominations. That's a really good point that you bring up. She
Wow.
is what? She's Baz Luhrmann's wife and also his
Yes.
costume designer, right? And probably a producer on Elvis.
Right. So what's the third one?
That's a good question. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. While we're talking,
I mean,
we are
she's she
not
also the production
prepared.
designer, maybe? I don't know.
She got in for picture, for costume, and for production design. Yeah.
Nice. All right,
That's
good for her.
amazing.
She's extraordinarily talented.
That's a really good point. I think the whale is the whale is at 66%. Teddy, yeah, you're right. So that's true. Critics destroyed the sun and Hugh Jackman's chances, says atheist nihilist. Have you seen the sun, Alonzo? I have not.
I didn't, but I didn't hear a single person be like, "Oh, you have to see the sun." It was,
I heard
and
it
I don't
wasn't
know if
good.
it's that it just followed so closely on the heels of the father, but yeah, the everything I'd heard about it was very kind of mediocre, so I didn't really bother.
Yeah, because the father was so great, and I understood this was quite a letdown by comparison. Christian Leprath says, "Oh hi, good to see you. Nothing for Barbarian for original screenplay.
Oh yeah,
Horror doesn't
well,
get taken seriously like it should be, though.
no, genre movies in general, like horror, comedy, musicals, are a tough sell with this bunch, historically speaking. So, I mean, like I think the only acting nominations for horror have been like, I mean, I guess Silence of the Lambs if you count that, but like Sigourney Weaver and Aliens, Kathy Bates for Misery, and maybe one or two other ones. So like, yeah, I'm not surprised.
But Misery is not like a horror movie, right? Misery is like a thriller, don't you think? I mean,
It's
it's
a
not
Stephen
like
King adaptation, and she's the monster. I don't know.
yes. Roma Steve says The Last of Us looks well made, but it's basically The Running Dead, right? So, Steve, I'm so glad that you brought up The Last of Us because right before we came here and met with you guys to chat about Oscars, Alonzo and I did our recap of episode 2 over at for our Patreon of The Last of Us. So, if you guys are pumped about The Last of Us, we are talking about that over there, and the link for our Patreon.
Patreon.com/BeFast all day.
And the link is down below as well if you are here on our little page with us. So yeah, we are really enjoying The Last of Us, and we have not played the game. But I understand from friends like my friend Brian, who is here on this chat right now, that it is pretty close to the game. And if you love the game, you're happy with how this show has turned out. So let us know
Cool.
about that. TC asked, "Did ambulance get best drone flights?" Michael Bay. If you gotta have drone shots, you want Michael Bay at the controller, do you
Sure.
not?
Sure. Yes. I actually didn't see Ambulance, but I heard interesting things about it. But it that what's the expression? That's what the money is for. Michael Bay doesn't win awards. He just he gets all his paycheck. Although that movie kind of, as I recall, underperformed. Right? Like they were expecting it to be bigger.
Yeah, maybe I don't know the time of year. It should have come out like closer to summer. A lot of folks pointing out, thank you, helpfully so, that Ellen Burstyn got nominated for The Exorcist.
Yes.
So that's a good
Oh, for
point.
horror movies. Yes. Right. Thank
We're
you.
jumping
Yes.
back to horror movie
And Linda
nominations.
Blair for that matter. So
And Linda
yeah.
Blair, Sissy Spacek got nominated
Oh,
for
true. For
Carrie.
Carrie. Yeah. Yeah.
So
But nonetheless, these
points
are
out,
few
yeah,
and
it's
far
unusual.
between.
Yeah, Toni Collette was snubbed for Best Actress for Hereditary. It's elevated horror. It's A24 horror. Miss Flo did not get nominated for Midsummer. Is
Yeah.
Midsummer a horror movie?
No nominations for Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Not for costume or production design. That's
Yeah.
a really good point. Yes. Oh, yeah. George Kasopoulos. Hello, fellow Boston Terrier
Hey.
owner. Good to see you. Anything for Leo Grande? No.
No. Zip.
That's a bummer.
And again, I think what you said about recency bias definitely plays into that. That's a movie that premiered at Sundance last year and then hit Hulu in the spring. And because this was such a competitive year for actresses, particularly, I think that they did. And I don't know how much effort Searchlight Disney made to getting that attention going for Emma Thompson. But yeah,
Yes.
unfortunately, no.
Brian points out Mia Goth and Pearl snubbed. Let's talk
For
about Mia
sure.
Goth for a second, because
Yes.
I mean, this is part of the whole horror doesn't get the respect it deserves. Not only is she incredible in Pearl, what she
Hmm.
co-wrote the screenplay and was a
Yeah.
vital force behind the scenes, and like that whole the whole trilogy of Maxine coming too.
Yeah.
That just from that monologue at the dining room table alone.
Did she get a Spirit Award nomination? I think she did, right?
I
For
don't know.
Pearl? I
I don't
believe
know.
so.
But I think again, it's like, is this too weird to get a Best
Yes.
Actress nomination?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think getting an actress nomination for a movie that a lot of people would just sort of classify as a slasher is already a challenge. And I think like her choice of her final close up, is a choice, and that some people are going to think yes, brilliant, and other people will be like, what the hell is she doing, but yeah, I think she's definitely got a lot of love out there and recognition from critics, and
Yeah.
she's going to have a really interesting career. She's one of the best things in Infinity Pool.
She chooses really fascinating, challenging, weird stuff, and I will
Mm.
always enjoy her about that. Silence of the Lambs points out Solanki ITGN. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name
Yes,
wrong.
I mentioned that one.
Yes, that definitely counts for sure. Can breakouts continue to be big players of the Oscars? In recent times, we've had Cold War, Parasite, Drive My Car, Triangle of Sadness. So that's like
True.
a
Yeah.
taste-making launching pad.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's been a somewhat mixed record about Palme d'Or winners getting notice, but yeah, for sure, you can definitely point to it as much as Toronto and Venice and Telluride and those folks as a real sort of launch pad for a certain kind of like international film. I'm really I was gobsmacked about the whole Triangle of Sadness thing, that they were able to swing those awards, because that's a even if like for even for sort of like older Hollywood liberal types who are all about the messaging of that movie, again, puke and shit. Let's not diminish that they had to get through all of that to get through everything else in the film.
But also little nuggets of grilled fish when you do good things. There's a lesson here to be learned. Yeah, Jacob points out Mia Goth did get a Spirit Award
Oh,
nomination for
good.
Pearl. Thank you very much for that. Some folks mentioning Men in the comments, like, was
Mm,
Men too weird?
yes.
Yes. Speaking of bodily fluids, men. Have I, Jesse Hefford asks, to either of you, have I, bleh, can I talk? Have either of you guys seen To Leslie? We chatted about this a little bit at the top. We have not, and we need to. And I think I definitely want to, now that
Yeah.
I'm understanding that she plays like a full blown alcoholic, which I think is interesting.
Yes, she plays a woman who basically years earlier had won the lottery, and then like it's now after all the money's gone and she's burned a lot of bridges in her life and sort of trying to start over again. And yeah, I went back, I reposted on Twitter this morning Fran Hefner's review for the wrap out of South by Southwest, and she's mezzo on the movie, but full throated in her praise for Reese Bros performance.
Yeah, Igor points out that Angela Bassett is the first person from the entire Marvel universe to be nominated, which is
Hmm.
pretty amazing considering. God, I keep scrolling up on me, considering how many films we have already had in that particular
Yeah.
basket. I recall when Endgame came out, there was
Hmm.
a big Robert Downey Jr.
Right, for best actor,
push.
yeah, which didn't happen.
That didn't
Yeah, she
happen.
is the first. She's the first MCU person to be nominated, but she's apparently also the first woman and first person of color to be nominated for a superhero movie.
Yeah. And I can very easily imagine her winning supporting actress, and she
Yeah,
deserves it.
sure.
She's
Yeah,
tremendous.
yeah. I mean, given how much she is called upon to do in that movie, how much she, like wasn't originally supposed to be the focal point of that movie before
Right.
Chadwick Boseman passed, and just the general, in that category of like, we owe you one for this your entire career. I wouldn't be surprised, like especially when you have like Stephanie Hsu and Jamie Lee Curtis arguably like
Canceling one another
canceling
out.
each other out with from the same film. Hong Chow being somebody who is relatively new to film. I think people really started noticing her circa Downsizing. So like she's obviously got a lot of time ahead of her. So who knows?
Tech Nauseated says, I think Close was a much better movie than Triangle of Sadness. Close is also up for international
Yes.
film. That's also one that I have not seen yet. Have you?
I have not yet, but I'm going to because Dave and I are talking about it on Thursday on KCRW Press Play because it's opening Friday in Los Angeles.
Let's catch up with that. Yeah, the international feature category is interesting. So it's All Quiet in the Western Front, which
Mm-hmm.
sounded like such a juggernaut all morning long because it is an A in the alphabet,
Oh,
so it
right.
came mentioned first. So All Quiet in the Western Front, Argentina, 1985, which I
Mm-hmm.
believe won the Golden Globe.
Yes, and is
So,
actually produced by Victoria Alonso, who is one of
oh,
the main people behind the Marvel movies.
she is indeed. Close, EO, and The Quiet Girl. Have you seen The Quiet Girl?
I have not seen The Quiet Girl yet,
I
but
have.
I've heard mixed things actually. Some people really love it. The critic who saw it for the rap was not a fan.
I thought it was quite lovely, but I would much rather have seen Decision to Leave in that category. Teddy says, thank you very much, Teddy. You two should do an if we pick the winners like Gene and Roger used to.
Oh,
That's a good idea.
yeah,
I'd like that. It's a good
sure.
idea. What we did last year, what we can do again this year, is like separate little videos looking at different categories,
Categories.
and we could pick from those as well. Rob Crosby says God's Creatures is great, chilling but great.
Yes, God's Creatures and God's Country both got left out this year. I was a big fan of Tendue Newton's performance
So good.
in God's Country, but again, very crowded year for actresses.
Christian says, I think the Oscars now are just more politicized. So we just get more safer picks. Whereas before, I
Uh,
think they would branch out and choose comedy and horror.
they've kind of, I mean, look, from the get go, they were created by the industry to not only pat themselves on the back, but to sell more tickets to movies that had already been out for a while. So the thing about the Academy Awards is it's sort of never had this pure artistic past where it was about, you learn now that they used to send out memos at like MGM or whatever and say like, well, here's who you're voting for, these are the movies we put out this year. So I think the Oscars kind of, every so often they'll surprise you. You'll get an Andrea Riseborough nomination. You'll get why does the After Sun guy's name keep flying out of my
Paul
head?
Mescal.
Paul Mescal. Thank you. But for the most part, I think this is an organization that is designed to play it safe and, like be there for the industry, for the American film industry, the for the studio system.
That's why
Um,
Parasite is so shocking. Parasite was so
exactly.
exciting.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then the
yeah.
next year was Green Book.
Right, exactly, because nature abhors a vacuum, But look,
Okay.
the fact that Moonlight won is still amazing, So you have these companies now like A24 and Neon who really know how to play this game and
Mhm.
can get in there with your Universals and your Paramounts and really mix it up.
David Ebekemi asks, were you surprised that RRR didn't get in for Best International Feature? India did not put it forth as
Yeah,
its submission, and that was dumb.
yeah, yeah. But again, it's like I think there's a whole sort of Bollywood Tollywood thing going on where the sort of ruling bodies of Indian cinema still sort of think of Tollywood as being like, that's cute. We're here over here making real movies, and so yeah, that unfortunately couldn't have
No.
happened because of the way Academy rules are set up right now.
Thank you, Nick, for pointing out Green Book was the year before Parasite. Was
True.
it? Anyway,
Yeah,
time is a flat circle. These are
who even
all
knows?
pre-pandemic things.
Um,
My brain's a sieve.
I was gonna say the thing about two movies that I thought were really great international films last year that were not going to get put forth by Iran were Jafar
Mm.
Panahi's No Bears and Panahi's Hit the Road.
Yep, that's not happening.
But yeah, obviously if you're a filmmaker who has been told by the government to stop making movies and you make movies anyway, they're not going to nominate you.
Yeah, just keep making movies. That's all that matters. Looney says, I'm excited I can see Tar again in the theaters for a third time now. Yes, they are re-releasing Tar.
They're also re-releasing RRR. They
Mm,
yesterday they said, look, whether we do well tomorrow or not, we're still coming back into theaters in February. Netflix is nice, but this is really a movie to see on the big screen. So I
yep.
hope you, Christy, get the
Yeah,
chance to catch it sometime
I know I
because
need
I
to.
really want you to have that experience.
For sure. And then All Quiet on the Western Front, it's on Netflix, right?
Correct.
But I did it ever get a theatrical run?
It had the thing that Netflix does where they'll
Yeah.
open it in the requisite one or two LA, New York theaters for a week to qualify. But yeah, generally speaking, it's been a Netflix thing. And Argentina 1985 is a Prime Video movie.
Yes, we can catch up with all of those. RM says Andre Riseborough is in the tradition of Carol Kane and Hester Street and Sally
Mm,
Kirkland and Anna.
yeah,
What say
yeah.
you?
That's a pretty apt comparison, actually. Yeah, those are both a very small movies from small distributors, but they just, I think Sally Kirkland really worked, her Hollywood connections that year. I don't really know the story behind Carol Kane getting nominated, but it was definitely a from left field choice because that was a very small. I think the Silvers kind of distributed that movie themselves because the only interest they got was like, oh, we'll put it in, classrooms or something, and
Mm.
they really kind of like went out and four-walled it and made that release happen. And Joan Micklin Silver, don't get me started. She's one of my like great sort of unheralded heroes of American indies. I know there's a big book coming out about her, and like Cohen Media has been reissuing a lot of her stuff, including Hester Street and Between the Lines. So I'm glad that she's posthumously at least getting her due as an important presence in the American filmmaking scene.
Yes, LPJZ456 says, I'm Tamil and from South India. The
Hmm.
Tollywood part of India and Bollywood and North Indians there often look down upon the South in
Yeah.
cinema and art.
Well, tragically that manifested in the way that in India's choice
Yeah.
for their international film this year. But hopefully, the global success of RRR, moves that needle some. We'll see.
Roma Steve asks, how do we pronounce Dano? Like danger or banjo? It's Dano. Rooney
Is
Mara, Paul Dano.
good to
Say it
know.
with me. And is it okay? So let's do this now. Is it Riseborough or Reesborough? You're
I
saying
think it's
Reesborough.
Reesboro.
I
That's my
don't know.
understanding. We'll
Can
see.
one of you guys look it up for us while we're
I've
doing
only ever
this?
I've only ever read it. I saw somebody earlier in the scroll said that Jesse Buckley and Rooney Mara got robbed, but you know,
Mara.
uh,
I literally just said
Mara, sorry, Rooney Mara. You did just say that. But ensemble pieces are hard. Like it's hard to elevate one or two people when there's a throng like that. I always remember, Glenn Close getting the one acting nomination for The Big Chill that year. Like it's that's what ensemble categories are for, like from the SAG Awards and from the Spirit Awards, but we don't have one from the Oscars, unfortunately.
Okay, Stephen Atwood says, how does Christie's sound keep getting lower and lower? Does my sound keep getting lower and lower? I'm the same person I was an hour ago.
Not that I've noticed.
Okay, you guys tell me. I don't want that to happen. Trying to
No.
figure it out. Okay, Walk says Mark Kermode always calls it Riceboro, and he's British,
Okay then.
so I trust him.
He
I
knows his
believe,
stuff.
yes. Uh, what else? Congrats, John Williams, on your 500th nomination. It does feel like that, doesn't it? I really like his score for The Fablemans, though, because it's so different from what he has done with Steven Spielberg previously. It's not like the big, rousing, transporting score, it's a little more intimate.
Right, but I mean, like those two work together on such a variety of films. I mean, you could go back and listen to his like Lincoln score, and it's obviously not going to be the same as his, Bridge of Spies score. They're not all like the Indiana Jones flourish. But yeah, no, he's a pretty safe bet every year for whether or not he's going to get nominated.
Okay, Reed says your mic is lower. I'm so sorry. I'm like in it. I'm like on it. Hold on one second. I just don't want things to be too hot. Like
Mm.
raw. But I appreciate you guys keeping me honest here. So thank you so much. Reesboro, I think at least that's how she was introduced at the Possessor screening I attended at Sundance. We reviewed Possessor. That was a messed up little movie.
Did, Not me. You must have viewed it with somebody else.
I think Matt did it with us.
Oh, okay.
Can't remember. And then Anuj Pramanik says India's official entry for Oscars this year wasn't even a Bollywood movie, though. It was from, I'm going to mess this word up. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Gujarat? I don't know how to say that.
Okay.
Anyway, my sound is fairly low. I don't want that for you guys. What are we gonna do about Diane Warren? Says RM. She got the honorary Oscar. Is still getting default nominations.
Oh, so she already did. That's right. She did get an honorary Oscar. So
Yes.
I guess she's just not going to rest until she wins a competitive one. I don't know.
There you go. Anyway, Thomas Newman scored Bridge of Spies. Says Mike Webb.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My apologies.
Anyway, will you guys watch the Oscars? Will you actually watch them? Like, does the possibility of something surprising or shocking happening lure you to the television? Is there a ceremony to it? Do you have a party? Do you have friends over?
I mean,
Like,
I've done it live on the internet with with the Max Film hosts once. I mean, yeah, I suppose I inevitably will. I'll find myself on the sofa that night, like, all right, what are we doing here? But yeah, again, I think that people who get overly excited about the Oscars confuse what they really mean and sort of look upon them as this sort of last word about what's good and what isn't. And I think it's if you appreciate it, it's just kind of a fun thing, and this sort of the industry kind of putting on the dog and like having this big splashy evening to celebrate themselves. I'm glad it makes a lot of money for the Academy Library. I use that resource a lot, and I'm going to be pretty much living there for the next few months while I'm working on this book. But yeah, I mean, the show itself kind of varies from year to year, and we always feel like it's too long. And there will be somebody will say something that'll be memorable, and there'll be some padded stuff. We're like, why are we even doing this? So I don't know.
yes. So TC asks jokingly, I'm guessing, will Chris Rock be there? I mean, like, if I'm the Oscar producers, I'm bringing Chris Rock
Oh,
back.
for
Don't
sure.
you think?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, zero nominations for Emancipation, but I think
Yeah.
nobody thought that was going to be any different.
And he can't be nominated anyway, can he? Or I
I
guess they can
think
nominate him, but he can't go.
I forget what the
He being Will
rule
Smith.
how that got handed down finally, but yeah. Anyway, that guy over there, thank you for your contribution. We appreciate it.
Oh, very kind. Yes, thank you. Just sending love. So sweet of you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yes, a lot of folks are saying that they will indeed watch. It Can Be says it's 3 o'clock in the morning where he or she lives. So no. Jonathan Caro, hello, says he'll watch for the not to number
Oh, well,
only.
sure. Yes, yes, yes.
I mean, that seems like fun. David says, of course, I'll watch the Oscars. My housemate is a SAG voter. Okay, so
Hmm.
you're getting all those screeners then. That's why you've seen everything, David, because you've got a big stack full of screeners there waiting
There we
for
go.
you. So Roma Steve says it's fun waking up to all the gossip. Nomo Fomo says I'll check out the highlights on Twitter. That's often what's even more fun is just like following along on Twitter. Like that
Oh, for
second screen
sure.
experience is more fun.
Yeah,
Andres
that's
Burton. Good.
no, no, no.
Say, is Will Smith going to present Best Actor this year? Says Andres Burton. Yeah, that's a good question. Who presents Best Actor? Right? When it's the previous winner. No, the previous winner presents to the
Well,
actress,
I was
right?
going to say it's like who prints best actress, I think is the question this year. So
Yeah, that's the thing is like whoever wins actor gives to actress the next year. Maybe that's where you bring in Chris Rock,
or
right?
that's where you bring in like some living legend, who's still with us. I'm trying to think like who is left from like golden age Hollywood who is still kicking, who could,
Yeah, it can be says Jada can give the award.
oh, okay. Rita Moreno. That's where you bring out Rita
Okay.
Moreno, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll find out. Yeah, that'll be interesting. All Quiet is the favorite for cinematography at this point, says Slade 347.
Hmm.
We haven't seen it yet. We got to see it. What is it about the cinematography of this film that is so dazzling that you think will win? Those of you guys who have seen it. Roma Steve says, "Do you guys ever put a cheeky bet on the Oscars?" No,
No.
I don't really gamble. Like, I'll lose $40 at video poker at the Las Vegas airport and be done.
Well, I like Bibbs and Whitney used to do a thing every year. We're like, well, if you lose, you have to, do some weird thing. And then if I lose, I have to, and it would be like they'd have to watch and review some weird, relic thing or do some goofy physical thing or like shave their head. I don't know. But yeah, we've never done that.
I'm not shaving my head.
No,
I
me
spent too
neither.
much money on my hair.
And I'm a terrible awards prognosticator, always have been.
Yeah, a lot of people saying that like Robert Redford or Warren Beatty or Jack Nicholson or Clint Eastwood should come out, and like that's who your legend is. Who should,
Yeah, the last time Warren
you know?
Beatty came out was the La La Land thing, so,
Oh yeah, we can't trust him to read the envelope correctly.
maybe
That's
not.
true. And then Clint would just talk to an empty chair the whole time and not
God,
actually present an award to anybody. So there is that.
you didn't nominate
Um,
me for the mule.
Yes. Thank you, David, for your sweet donation. Huge fan of both your work. Love the channel. Thank you from it looks like
Thank
you
you.
must be in England. That looks like a pound.
It
So
does.
hello, you're very sweet. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you here. Abby Zebron says, no love for Cha Cha Real Smooth. Is it a
Ugh.
thing to forget about early year good movies? I'm not sure how loved that movie was. I think there's a lot of like Sundance quirkiness about it that might have rubbed folks the wrong way.
Yeah, that's a movie that people didn't talk about much after it kind of came and went from theaters. I don't even know that it got Spirit Award attention this year. I was not a fan, but yeah, I don't think that was a generally loved movie.
Yes, we have some folks commenting on how Riz Ahmed and Allison Williams did a really good job this morning
Hmm.
of announcing the nominations. I know that you were not awake for
No.
them. I was up at 5:30 with my coffee, cuddling in bed with Baxter, watching the nominations.
Look
So
at you.
yeah, so I thought they did a really good job too. Like they had good timing, they had good rapport.
Hmm.
These things can be so cringe inducing when they're
Sure.
trying to force humor into it. And there was some Megan humor.
Well, did you watch SNL this past week?
No, it
Yeah,
has.
it was actually a pretty good episode because Aubrey Plaza hosted. Aubrey Plaza, by the way, not nominated for Emily the Criminal, which she was great in.
Oh, she was great.
But anyway, they did an ad for Megan 2.0, and
Mhm.
Allison Williams pops up playing first the character for Megan, but then clearly Allison Williams, and it was pretty funny.
That is cute. Yes, I saw that because Aubrey Plaza used to be a page at SNL, so that
Yes.
was kind of funny for her to come back and there you go. Barbara Streisand, a lot of votes for Barbara Streisand or Sophia Loren
Oh, there
to
you
uh
go.
to
Good
present.
one.
It's got to be a guy though, right? Isn't that part of the deal?
No, I
I
think
guess
I
not.
think once you bring the legend in, who cares? You know.
Right. Yes. Has Jordan Peele hype died with no love for Nope and visual effects? Asks Abby.
I mean, the movie made a lot of money, and so yeah, I think he is. I don't think the hype has died. I think that this movie, for whatever reason, and here's the thing: I always, for whatever good it does, and we're getting toward the century of the Academy. I would love it if they would start a thing where 100 years after every Oscars, they released the vote totals.
That would be fun.
Everybody's dead. No one's going to get offended. Like, I would love to know, like, what just squeaked out a win. What came in sixth in the nomination process and just like missed being nominated by that much. Well, we don't know. So like, you never know with all these movies that anything that you mentioned in the last hour that you're like mad that it didn't get in there. For all we know, it was like sixth and it was 2 votes behind. Like
Mhm.
it's a very fragile situation.
I was thinking about that this morning with Best Actress, like
Yeah.
wondering just how close that was with
Hmm.
Andrea, however you pronounce her last name, over someone like Viola Davis
Or
or
Daniel
Danielle
Deadwyler.
Deadwyler, like because that was such a last minute kind of groundswell of love for her.
Yeah.
So we have votes from Michael Caine and Faye Dunaway to come in and give that award to Best
Well,
Actress.
Faye Dunaway was the other one presenting for La La Land. So
Yes. Again, we don't know whose fault that was. We don't
no,
know.
no.
They're
I think
legends.
I think Warren Beatty left Faye Dunaway out to dry on that one, but
Yes.
who can
Okay.
say?
So Victor Di Giovanni says Jordan Peele has become M. Night Shyamalan. His gimmick has been identified, and we don't look at his stuff as Oscar worthy anymore. I don't know about that. I like that he takes these big swings, and there's so much craft to his film. There's so much ambition to the screenplays. I wonder if it's just like you take those big chances and you just risk alienating some viewers, some audience members, some voters. Like I didn't love Nope, but I love the conversation that I had with my husband and my son leaving the theater. Like that was more exciting than the movie itself. And I love that it generates that kind of response.
Yeah, I was not a fan of either Nope or Us, but I do appreciate that he's not phoning it in. He's definitely trying to wrap his arms around some big ideas and big concepts, and he's doing it in a way that isn't necessarily holding the audience's hand. Um, yeah, I think it's premature to say that he's over, because again, I think Nope made money, and I think Universal is excited to have him, working for them and doing his thing. So it's not. I mean, Shyamalan, things fell apart when like what Lady in the Water I think was a big flop, and
The
his movies
Village.
Village, yeah, like his movies got really indulgent and they were very sort of gimmick reliant, or at least they were perceived that way. And he took himself so very seriously, that I think that all of those things kind of combined to sort of chip away. Although he's bounced back in a lot of ways. I mean, like, the whole Glass trilogy, I think, worked out well for him, and
Yeah.
he's got Knock on the Cabin Door coming out. And so, yeah, but I think Peel is still taken seriously and still valued as somebody whose movies make money.
Yes, we have a couple folks here commenting on how well the Irish film industry did today
Mm.
between Banshees and The Quiet Girl.
Yeah,
I think Paul
first
Mescal is
international.
Irish, maybe.
Oh, maybe, yeah. For the Quiet Girl was the first international nomination for an Irish movie, apparently.
Yes, so a lot of that. We have some folks saying that either Jenny the Donkey or EO should come out and present Best Actress. They could just
There we
like
go.
strap it like in a little
Oh,
saddlebag.
with and bring him out in the necklace of carrots.
Oh, so sweet.
Uh, and, and actually, SS Rajamouli said on Facebook today that this was the most nominations for Indian films this year because of all the breeds in the doc category, and there were one or two other ones in some other categories, and plus the best song nomination for RRR. So I think you are seeing a more internationally minded Academy of late. I mean, not just the Parasite win, but the fact that All Quiet did so well. Where they are looking beyond just sort of the usual Hollywood strictures.
Yeah, and I think that's a reflection of just the academy getting younger and more diverse and hipper and being more open-minded to different kinds of film. Yes, it can be points out that Lady Gaga and Rihanna are up against each other. They are, and they're both probably going to lose to Natu Natu.
Possibly, yes, but I think they'll have many other opportunities.
Yes, for sure. Peel's reminding me of Edgar Wright, says Roma Steve, always does his own thing. It is
Mhm.
interesting, but their first film will be remembered as their best work, maybe. Yeah, Edgar Wright
Fair,
plays in with genre and with
yeah.
style and is, a huge visual stylist, and like his screenplays are always, well crafted and daring, and so Walter asked, any plan to see The Quiet Girl, either of you? I've seen The Quiet Girl. I saw it for radio a couple months ago and thought it was lovely, so
I will try to. I mean, it's like I try to get to the stuff that I haven't seen yet, but you know, I have a lot on my plate right now, so
for
we'll see.
sure. Bradley Tucker says, Christy, are you surprised Deep Water didn't get nominated? That was excellent trash. That is maybe with the Blonde nomination, they're sort of like all encompassing
There you
Anna
go.
Jarmus's work with
They're
Deep
really
Water.
honoring her for her work in Deepwater. Yeah.
Right. It's an honor just to be nominated for anything. Abby says, "Do you have a top 3 contenders to win Best Picture now? I'm torn between Fablemans and Banshees, as both were box office flops." I mean, do you mean that I want to win or that
You
will
think will win?
win? I mean, I think if we're looking at Best Picture, hold on, I gotta go scroll back up. I think that probably Everything Everywhere will win. I would guess. There seems to be a lot of, given how many nominations it got, given how much affection there is for it, that seems to be, I think, probably the favorite. I would like to see Banshees of Inisherin win, or even Tar, but I don't think Tar could win. Tar is so cold. And
Yeah,
I love so much about it. And I love, she'll win. Kate Blanchett will win.
I remember years ago somebody I know who is, a producer talking about how like never underestimate uh, the appeal of a movie that leaves people feeling good at the end.
Yeah. Coda.
for instance, that like and obviously there are exceptions. Parasite is a challenge, but like a lot of times when you're looking at what the Oscar contenders are, you're better off leaning toward the movie that the lights come up and they feel good and they feel good about themselves. They feel uplifted, and so I think that puts Everything Everywhere ahead of something like Tar or Banshees, maybe even All Quiet in a way, just because I mean that's you know I assume they kept the ending from the novel, which is pretty tough, but at the same time underscores the whole sort of pacifist message of the film. So
Yeah,
we'll
I
see.
would say the Fablemans might be, but it hasn't won any of the big stuff leading up to this, right?
Yeah,
It didn't win at the Golden Globes. It hasn't really won with the critics groups. It's totally solidly made and safe. But I think at the point where we are now, like maybe 30 years ago, the Fablemans would have won, right?
sure.
But not so much
Yeah,
now.
and it's one of those ones where like the people who love it really love it, but there are a lot of people who are sort of like about it. So yeah, I don't know. But again, I'm the worst prognosticator.
Yes, on Helsenia says Tar is this year's The Power of the Dog. Yeah, one that's like really exquisitely crafted, but just like tough,
Bleak. Yeah.
tough and bleak. Marty Mascaron had a nice message for us somewhere here that I have now lost track of because there's lots of messages just saying thank you for doing this, which thank you for thank you for doing this, for allowing venting and folks pointing out other snubs. And he follows us avidly. We're happy to see you. We're happy so many of you guys showed up in the
Yes,
middle of the
thanks for
day
being
on a
here.
Tuesday. We should probably wrap up soon because Baxter's got to go out. Baxter's crossing his
Oh.
paws and waiting. One more quick question from Marilyn. Can either of you tell me how Ana de Armas got nominated for Blonde? She's great. She's great in it.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, we talked about this at the top of the show. It's like
Mhm.
it's a powerful performance, but it also leads into a couple things that the Academy loves, which is famous people playing famous people and famous people rendering themselves completely unrecognizable.
Yeah. Teddy says The Fablemans is way weirder to me than anything else. Writing and directing your own life story, ick.
It
He's
happened. Look,
Spielberg, though, man.
I
If
mean
anyone's going to do it.
this year we had Bardo, we had Armageddon Time. There were a lot of autobiographical films this year.
Yes. And the Cinephilo 91 says, I would love to see a weird genre mashup like Everything Everywhere All at Once win for Best Picture. I think that's going to happen.
Yeah,
I
I think
can
it
very
it
easily
could.
imagine that happening.
It could, and I think that there is a lot of goodwill for that film, and in a year where it was hard to get people to theaters, it occupied this sort of sweet spot of it's not a superhero movie exactly, and it is sort of an adult drama, but with a lot of bells and whistles, and but this little A24 movie, like in the early part of 2022 when nothing else was really like setting the box office on fire was bringing people in and bringing them in multiple times.
Various folks are reminding me that Fablemans did indeed win Best Film. I guess it won Best Drama at the Globes.
Oh,
Thankfully,
true.
you all are here to remember things I don't remember because the brain can only hold so much. Yes, we do remember 10 years ago, Andrea Riseborough was in a Madonna movie about the British royals.
Yep,
Yes.
we.
Farhad Hakverdi, I'm so sorry if I said your name wrong. How can I watch the Oscars? I'm ready to pay. I don't live in the US. I would think they'd be streaming on Oscars.com,
You would
maybe.
probably need to check like whatever, like check the entertainment press wherever you are, and they'll tell you, because I'm sure country by country there's a different thing about who carries it and how you can access it, and
I hope
no
you find
idea.
out. Let us know if you figure it out for
Yeah,
sure. Thank you guys all so much for being here. Thank you
yeah,
for your
appreciate it.
passion and for your opinions and for keeping us honest on things that we forget. We love seeing you. Maybe we'll do another one of these again before the Oscars. We'll definitely be doing these more and more along the road. So keep your eyes peeled. And it's good to see you. And thank you for spending time with us today.
Yes, this was fun. Thanks, you guys. We'll be back with more. And again, if you want to hear us talk about Last of Us and lots of other fun stuff, we do have a Patreon at patreon.com/befastallday. But yeah, in the meantime, until next time, bye.
Bye.